Welcome to our talk today on the power of thought. Apologies for all the trouble that you all have had to put up with to get in. There was some sort of IT error. Now, don't ask me what it is because it's beyond my comprehension. So now we are good to go. So let us today think about our topic, which is about the power of thought. What is the power of thought? Vedanta's answer to that is, okay, this should not like a suspense movie, you'll know only in the end. The answer is, it is the sole determiner of our life. Our life is the way it is because of the kind of thoughts we have. Now, many people don't subscribe to this theory. They say that no, what about fate and destiny? What about God? What about stars? What about the effect our parents or our environment has had on us? So many objections there can be to this idea that the only determiner of our life is thoughts. So let's take up these other ideas and understand, do they really affect us? Some people believe that the stars affect us, that whatever happens in our lives is because of the stars. There's a simple rule in life that the gross cannot affect the subtle. Very simple rule. The gross cannot affect the subtle. So what are the stars and the planets? They are concrete objects, isn't it? We are living beings. How can the gross affect the subtle? What about fate and destiny? Is our life the way it is because of fate and destiny? There's actually a whole YouTube video on that. You can go look at it. The answer is yes, in some sense, it is fate and destiny. But how is your fate and destiny created? Your fate is created, your destiny is created because of the way we think. So it all boils down to the same thing. Even God, some people feel God has done this to us. Why God? Do you think God is erratic, insane, that he will give some people good things and some people bad things? That's not how it works. God gives us the results of our own actions. So even if you claim that it is God, it is still our own actions, our own thoughts. Voice is breaking. You can hear clearly or not? Clear? Thank you. So many parents have done this, environment has done this, government has done this. Let us not go too deeply into all the other factors. Let's understand today about our thoughts. Maybe by the end of the lecture, everyone will have some kind of belief that our thought is what is influencing our life. Okay? Now, what we get in life is the consequence of our actions. Thoughts have no consequences. Actions have consequences. If you think, I hate this guy, I want to murder him, nothing will happen. But the moment you pick up the first thing to hit the guy, consequences are going to start. So actions have consequences. These consequences are what we call life. Our life is nothing but the consequences of our actions. So the big question is, where did these actions come from? Why did we act like that? We acted like that, in that particular manner, because of the way we thought. We thought in a particular way, and therefore we acted in a particular way. And if anyone had had that thought, which we had had, they would have also acted in the same way. So when we start criticizing other people's actions, we don't realize that had we been in that position with that thought, we would have done exactly the same thing. If, there was this famous saint, and he said, there, but for the grace of God, go I. He was seeing prisoners being taken to the gallows, and he said, there, but for the grace of God, go I. I would have been that prisoner going to the gallows, going to be hung, had I had those thoughts and therefore those actions. So a big question is, why did I get those thoughts? Why do we get those thoughts? Now, let us understand this whole range. When Vedanta talks of thoughts or actions, all these are used almost synonymously. It's almost used to mean the same thing because it's a chain. Okay, any one part of that chain will bring everything else along with it. So let's understand this chain. Each one of us has what is known as vasanas. Vasanas can be understood as our inherent tendencies.
Please tell me Hindi.
Pratik, sorry, this lecture is in English. I will try to use a little bit of Hindi, but as you can see, we have many people here who don't understand Hindi too.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
So what is this chain? It starts with vasanas. Vasanas are our inherent nature. Because we have a particular kind of inherent nature, we have a particular kind of thought. A businessman, he has an inherent nature of a particular type. So he gets those types of thoughts. A businessman, he goes anywhere, he will find opportunities for business. There was a man, he once bought a completely ramshackle, broken down house. And all his friends criticized him and said, why did you buy that house? It's so broken down. I mean, think how much you'll have to spend to fix it. Okay, you got it at a throwaway price, but you'll be spending a fortune trying to make it livable. And he said, who's making it livable? I'm going to pull it down. So how will you make money? He said, see all this wood in those rafters? It's really good wood. And he sold that wood and made a huge profit on that house. This is how a businessman can think. An interior designer seeing the same house will run for his life. Bapre, I don't want to touch this thing. So each one has a particular nature. And because of that particular nature, he has particular thoughts. Okay, so I know a homeopathic doctor. He would look at a person walking, any random person, and say he has this disease. Because in his science, he could apparently tell that if you walked in this manner or you were tilting in a particular manner, they could tell what was wrong with you. So that's very interesting, isn't it? The kind of vasanas brings those type of thoughts. Those type of thoughts bring that type of action. So see, the businessman has a businessman nature. He gets a thought, oh, I can make a profit out of this house. Therefore, he undertakes an action, which is the purchase of the house. And finally, he has a consequence of that, which in this case, he made a profit. So if it is a painter, he may see exactly the same house. He may see these ruins and love the ruins and say, oh, he could make a very artistic painting out of it. So his thought will be painting. His action will be painting. And his result will be whatever the thing is, whether he sells, not sells, whatever he does with it. So vasana results in a thought, results in an action, and that results in consequences. So the thought is not just one thought. The thought develops into many thoughts. When it develops into many thoughts, it's called desire. So the full chain is vasana, thought, desire, action. Because these thoughts develop, none of us get just one thought. So there's a development of thought. We'll get into that in a bit. But as far as we are concerned, there is a vasana, there's a thought, there is an action that comes out of it. And that action is what gives consequences. If you do that action properly, you get the right consequences. If you don't do the action properly, you get the wrong consequences. By wrong in the sense, what you don't want. Not a moralistic right or wrong. What you didn't want, you'll get out of it something you don't want. So therefore, it becomes extremely important for us to understand, firstly, how powerful these thoughts are. And secondly, how do we deal with them? To know their power is one thing. We know that the rivers have massive power. Okay, no, but now how to deal with it? You have to become an engineer to be able to put a dam on that. So today you're going to be an engineer to put a dam on your thoughts so that you can harness that power. Okay, ready for it? Now, thoughts are what determines our life. The chain of thought is vasana, thought, action. So that's the chain. Now, these thoughts can be of two types. The kind of thought we get can be of two types. One type of thought, the thoughts simply escalate. They become what is known as desires. So therefore, often they say vasanas are desires. Yeah, you can say that. So these thoughts, they escalate and become desires. When the desires become extremely strong, they force us to perform actions which in our good senses we may or may not think correct. So the Bhagavad Gita talks about how this happens. A man gets a thought, just a thought about anything. It's simple, innocent thought. Nice car. Nothing wrong in thinking nice car. And then what happens to that thought? Nice car, nice car, nice car. It goes on repeating. When it starts repeating, we start getting what is known as attached to that. That means, now let's say your neighbor has this car and you go on saying nice car, nice car, nice car. And then one day that car is not parked there. Then you'll say, where is the car? Where is the car? I can't see the car. You begin to miss it. Like if you were in college and you saw somebody you liked, just liked, innocent liked. I like this person. So nice person, nice person, nice person. One day the person doesn't come to college and you say, where is the person? I can't see him or her today. What happened? Is she not well? Is something happened? You start missing that thing when it is not there. It's called attachment. Now, since you feel uncomfortable when that thing is not there, the natural thing is to say, let me hold it. Let me possess it. This is known as desire. The desire to hold, the desire to possess. This nice car becomes, I want the car. Now, suppose you go to your boss or you go to the bank manager and ask for a loan to buy that car. And the bank manager says, no way, you've already taken so many loans. I won't give you any more loans. You get very angry with the bank manager. They're so unreasonable. They're giving all the rich people loans. They don't give me loans, even though I need a car. All this starts. So much anger is generated when our thoughts, when our desire is interrupted. But suppose you did get that loan. Suppose that you bought the car. Is it going to end there? No. Then you want accessories for the car. You want so many other things. And after some time, you want to get a car. When desires are fulfilled, we create greed. If even the greed is fulfilled, then We look at those who have more and we're envious, jealous about them. We look at those who have less. So now I have a Rolls Royce. I mean, I don't have a Rolls Royce, but suppose I had a Rolls Royce. Then I don't want to talk to anybody who goes in a small car because I'm Rolls Royce owner. I become arrogant towards those who have less than me. I become envious of those who have more than me. I say, oh, that guy, he's got a jet. So remember where we came? It was just a thought. It's nice something. Nice something became, I want it. And I want more of it. And even if I get that, then I'm envious about those who have more and arrogant towards those who have less. You started this whole journey thinking how happy you're going to be, right? But through the anger, through the greed, through the envy, through the arrogance, all that we experience is huge mental agitations. And these mental agitations prevent us from thinking. And therefore, we commit error after error after error we commit errors in
Actions.
inaction.
Actions.
Yes. I'm glad you all are listening. I'm just checking anyone is listening or all gone to sleep still. Okay, so because of these huge agitations, because of these thoughts going all tumultuous and random and crazy, iPhone, we create a lot of errors of action out of arrogance or greed or envy or whatever, road rage. People can wreck their whole life because in road rage they went and did something and now they're in jail. So we take very many wrong decisions and therefore wrong actions because of this huge tumult of thoughts. It is known as the ladder of fall. This is how we fall in life. It's a very, very frightening thing if you stop to think about it, that all these ungoverned thoughts become so much that they can even lead to crime. They lead to divorce. They lead to fights between brothers. They lead to all sorts of negative consequences that we really did not anticipate. If you go to any gambler who has lost all his money in gambling, did he anticipate this? That all his money would be gone one day? A man who got very angry with his boss and threw the resignation on his face and left, and then couldn't get another one. Did he anticipate that? So when our thoughts are all emotional, worked up, agitated, the consequences, our actions go wrong, and therefore the results go wrong, therefore life goes wrong. This is the result of one type of thought we have. But people will tell you that whatever you think of is what you're going to get. As you think, so you become. So is it wrong to talk of the law of attraction and things like that? Here you see people who are thought, and they basically went berserk and they did not get what they want. So is this wrong that you get what you think of, that you get what you want? Is that wrong? No, that's not wrong. But it's right only if you do it in the other type of way. Remember, there are two types of thoughts. When we say two types of thoughts, it's only a classification of thoughts. When you do it in the other way, then you will get what you want. And what is this other way? The first way is emotional, impulsive, emotion-driven. It is full of agitation. The second way is the way of the intellect. The way of the intellect is, it is discriminate, it is reasonable, it is balanced, it applies itself before the action as to what the consequence of that action is going to be. You think to yourself, what is the right thing to do before you do anything? Emotionally, we just do it. You like it, you do it. Finish. The matter is over. The thought came, you did it. Consequence came all before you even knew it happened. But the reasonable way is that we think carefully. When we think carefully, these are called discriminate thoughts. Things will come to us, right? Suppose there's a diabetic and you offer the diabetic sweets. Then the mind, the emotion of that person will say, I like sweets, I want sweets. But his intellect has to intercede and decide whether he should have this sweet or not have it. Now, you know what will happen if he has it, what will happen if he doesn't have it. So there are two types of thoughts: emotional, agitated, random, and balanced, discriminative, analytical, reasonable. The first type we called mind. Mind in Hindi is manas in Sanskrit. The second type, discrimination, is called intellect. I mean, we are going to use these terms. Intellect thoughts are discriminatory. I discriminate. They are analytical. They form decisions, judgments. When we have thoughts of the intellect, we reach where we wish to go. Simple thing, right? When you come out of your house, you drive right or left is decided by where do you want to go. Suppose you randomly drive right or left, will you reach where you want to go? Oh, today this road is looking pretty and green, so I will take this road. You decide like that. You go somewhere because that is where you choose to go. You know, we talk about predicting life. Everybody wants to know, can I predict what will happen in my future? The best way to predict the future is to invent it. And how do you invent it? By giving yourself a goal. Give yourself where you want to reach. If you don't know where you want to reach, you can't reach there, can you? So the first and most important decision the intellect takes is, what do I want? And once you have decided that, every action you take should be in accordance to that. When you start functioning like this, you get whatever you want. It is so simple, and it's such a big secret. When the intellect chooses the actions, instead of allowing the mind to propel them, we start becoming achievers in life. So you come home, your spouse is doing something that according to you, they should not be doing. You get very irritated. You're about to shout. You have to stop yourself and ask this question. What is it I'm trying to do when I'm going to shout? What is it I want out of this? And will my shouting achieve it? If my answer is yes, go ahead and do it. If my answer is no, then I have to stop. So, learning to be discriminate in actions, to think before you do something, instead of simply allowing the mind, the emotions to push us through, makes our lives fruitful and productive. Now, some of you may think that is that always true? Is it always true that only our thoughts will determine everything? Or is there anything else? Maybe some of you have this feeling, okay, what you're saying is reasonable. But so many things happen in life which are not because I did them. For instance, COVID came. Okay? Sometimes people just meet with a random accident. So many random things happen in life. So how are they because of our thoughts? That doesn't seem right. So I hope everyone is clear about the first part. that when we perform actions which are driven by emotion, driven by mind, we land up in trouble. When actions are driven by the intellect, we achieve whatever we have set ourselves to achieve. So far, so good, right? Okay, everybody's with us so far. Great. Now, next thing is, what about if there's an air crash? Somebody's involved in an air crash. What about if there's a COVID has come? So many things happened during COVID. So many things. It's not my actions. I go to work one day and, my boss just fires me randomly.
Sorry, ma'am, can I ask one question?
We'll take all questions at the end. We have time. We have kept, this is such a thought-provoking topic. It's something that we as humans can think so much about. So we decided we'll just do all the questions in the end. I hope that's okay with everybody. There will be 15 minutes in the end for questions. Okay, so now so many random things happen. How are we responsible for them? Are we? If we hold our theory that thoughts are the cause of everything, then it must follow that every random thing I am somehow responsible. But it makes no sense. How can you say that? If there's an air crash, how am I responsible? For instance, today, we couldn't start this thing because some back-end error took place. You wanted to listen. I wanted to speak. The IT team and everybody wanted this whole event to happen. And yet somehow it did. What happened here? Who didn't want it to happen? And yet we couldn't start. So here you find these random things taking place. Suddenly out of the blue, something goes wrong. How do you explain them? If you claim that everything comes from your thoughts. Okay, there are two ways of looking at this. One is, take the easy understanding. The easy way is to say, okay, let's just say things happen. Okay? Things happen. But my experience of those things is my thoughts. Okay, that's one way of looking at it. COVID happened. Some people had a terrible time out of it. Some people had a reasonably okay time out of it. Some people found no difference. What was the difference? Only their own way of thinking about it. That is why the great Milton said, the mind is its own place. It can make a heaven out of a hell or a hell out of a heaven. So something happens, anything happens. My experience of it is how I think about it. For one person, a great thing has happened. For another person, a terrible thing has happened. Okay, a person lights up a cigarette. For him, it's immense joy. For another person, that same cigarette being lit up is a huge irritation. Probably for his wife. So everybody has their own experience of that same event. So your experience is your life, and therefore your thoughts create your life. That's one way of looking at it. But you'll say, no, you're cheating. No, this is true. What we just said is true. But you may still feel, no, that's cheating. You said first that your thoughts create your life. Now you must show us how all instances in our life are created by our thoughts. Okay, let's try our hand at that one. That's a little more difficult. I hope you understood the previous way. The previous way of looking at it is, my life is what? My experience. And my experience is caused by my thoughts. So therefore, my life is caused by my thoughts. That's the first way, regardless of what actually happens. Now, what about what actually does happen? Any random thing that happens. COVID or air crash or, I don't know, suddenly you get some ailment. How is that because of my thoughts? The great sage Ramatirtha has explained it beautifully. He's explained it with the help of a law of physics known as the law of parallelogram law of forces. That's the law he used. It's a physics law. So here's the law. Imagine that there's an object, free floating object, okay? It's not tied in any way. It's a free floating object. Now, if you apply a force in this direction, this object will move in this direction. If you apply a force in this direction, the object will move in this direction. Correct? If you apply a force in this direction, it moves here. If you apply a force in this direction, it will move here. That's simple. Now, suppose you apply two forces on it. One in this direction and one in this direction. And both these forces are equal. Where will this free object go? If there is a force in this direction and a force in this direction, and they're both equal forces, and this is not tied in any way, where will this go? This object will go in the middle. I think some of you thought that it won't move. No, it will not move if it has forces all around it of equal thing. Then it won't move. But it is just two forces, one pulling it this way, one pulling it this way. So where will it go? It will go in the middle, because they're equal forces both sides. Now, what is interesting in this is there is no force this side. Now you understand how you get something you don't want? There is absolutely no force this side, and yet you have got it. So let us say that here is a man who wants to be rich. Okay, he has tremendous desire to be rich. He also has an equally strong desire to lie in bed and do nothing. He's a lazy fellow. So what will happen to him? Can he become a millionaire? He can't become it, because he has got two contradictory forces. But suppose you say that, no, I want to become rich and I worked very hard, but I still can become rich. Now what? Think about the millions of forces in your own mind. You may have wanted to become rich. You may have worked very hard. But for argument's sake, let us say that you never wanted to cooperate with anyone. You never wanted to share the glory with anyone. And therefore, you couldn't become as rich as you wanted. I don't know the story, but reported. Since I haven't met him, I can't vouch for it, but this is the reported story. Dhirubhai Ambani, who started one of the biggest corporations in India, he is claimed to have said, I'm willing to touch the feet of any bureaucrat. See, it was a time of license Raj and all that in that time. And the bureaucrats were extremely powerful because the government didn't let you do anything. They put 100 rules on how much and what and this and that. Now, if you want to run a business at that time, you have to do hanji naji to those guys. If you're not willing to do it, you can't run that business. So there are many things involved. Millions of forces playing, because we don't work with one thing. We work with so many different desires. And the end result is random, because the desires are all random. We have this desire, that desire, everything is floating in all different directions. Can you imagine making a dish like that? You don't know what dish you're making. You saw a nice apple. You put it on the dish. Then you saw a nice mirchi, a chili. You put that in as well. Then you found a nice piece of broccoli. You added that. Then there were some nice masalas of nice different colors. You put that in as well. What will this dish be? Before you start a dish, or anyone starts a dish, you have to know what you're doing and do whatever needs to be done to reach that dish. When I was young and I had barely started cooking, they used to joke about me that most people decide what to make and make it. She makes it and then decides what it is. Because I was struggling to be able to make something. So don't make dishes like I used to make. Always. We must know where we are headed and drive every thought in that direction. Because if we have different thoughts pulling different ways, we don't know where this thing is going to reach. Okay, now imagine, suppose you say, I love, oh, it's so dirty in India. I love everything to be clean. But very dirty here, very dirty here. I love milk. I love cheese. I love chocolate. And it's so dirty in India. Then it may so happen that you are dead in India and you're born in Switzerland. It's all clean there. You get lots of milk and chocolate. But you asked for it. But did you ask to die? You didn't ask to die. You were just, it's so dirty, it's so dirty. So we have to be very careful what all thoughts are going on. Imagine this free-flowing object and there are millions of forces pulling it in so many different ways. What do you think will happen to that? There's no way of knowing what will happen to that because you're not able to direct the forces. So the more we are able to direct the forces towards a single aim, towards a single thing, or if you can't think of one thing, then 2-3 things, but not more than that, because the more you add into the mixture, the more random it's going to get. And then we ask ourselves, how did my life become this? It became this because we didn't choose what we wanted it to be. We allowed hundreds of thoughts to just play around in our mind. And the consequence is the life I have today. Now, if you're feeling terribly depressed, please don't, because this is a very, what should I say, energizing philosophy. It tells me that my life today is what I am. It is because of the way I thought. And if I change the way I think, I will have a different way tomorrow. All that it requires is I harness my thoughts. That's all it requires. To harness my thoughts, I must think carefully what I want. Okay, so suppose I say, I want to be a very rich person. Oh, no harm in that. And then you drive all your thoughts in that area, so you become a rich person. Now here's where it gets a little more complicated or interesting. You decide you want to be a rich person. You decide you want to be Wimbledon champion. You decide whatever you want to be. Okay, so you decide, this is what I want. And then you drive all your thoughts in that direction. And you will get that thing. However, remember that when you fix that is the thing I want, you did not say, I also want happiness. You decided to be a rich person, you'll become one. You decided to be Wimbledon champion, you'll become one. Borg became Wimbledon champion, was that 6 times? Then he tried to commit suicide. So sad. I wish we could go and tell him this. Imagine high achievers achieve so much in life and still feel like an emptiness, a void. Why can't we all be happy? Poor or rich, educated, uneducated, why can't we all be happy? Because we are not clear that is where we have to eventually reach. We fix for ourselves, I want this, I want that, I want that. Okay, we'll get it. Don't you want to be happy? Oh, then should we not want to be rich or not want to be Wimbledon champion, or should we just like go to Goa and do nothing and be happy? No, of course not. Remember, that would be, if you didn't have a goal, then that would be you get randomness. If you had a goal, then you get the goal, but you won't get happiness. Ajeeb musibat hai, right? Too much trouble. So let's start again. How do we achieve everything? How do we achieve whatever our goal is and we achieve contentment? How do we achieve it all together? Okay, there's a trick in that. So you remember the first trick. How do you achieve your goal? You use one word. Come on, somebody. Very good, Deepraj. You use your intellect. All right, that's how you achieve your goal. Number one. But you'll achieve your goal. Will you be able to achieve happiness? I don't know. So let's go to the second part. How would you also achieve happiness along with your goal? The only way to find happiness, along with your goal, of course, is to make sure that your goal is not a goal, but an ideal. When your goal is an ideal, you will not only achieve that, you will also find supreme contentment. What is the difference between a goal and an ideal? A goal can be for merely selfish, self-centered purposes. An ideal is what is done in the welfare of the many. You do it, it's good for you, it's good for all. It's called in Sanskrit and Vedanta, it's referred to as Shreya. It is in the welfare of everyone. So when the goal is such that it is beneficial to all, then we achieve the goal and we achieve supreme contentment. Quite simple, no? Once you learn Vedanta, life becomes very simple. Okay, so it's quite simple. Let's just go through this whole thing once, because I know it's a lot to sort of imbibe all at one time. So what do we start with? We started saying that what is our life determined by? Fate or God and all sorts of things, stars and stones and parents and environment, and none of that. It is our life becomes what it is because of our thoughts. Where do these thoughts come from? They come from our vasanas. So it's vasana, thought, desire, action. The actual results come because of the action. Don't ever forget that. The consequence takes place only when there's an action. Now, thoughts can be of two types. One are irrational thoughts, emotion-driven, like anger, or greed, or hate, or jealousy, and we're doing all this stuff all the time. And then we get all these random results out of it. Another one type of thoughts, very agitated, and then we make errors of judgment, and then we do wrong action, and then we get the result of that. Okay, so when we have mind-led or emotional thoughts, it leads to consequences which we did not ask for. But when we have rational, discriminate thoughts, we can achieve whatever we have set out to achieve. So it must be clear what I'm trying to achieve and whether my current action will actually give me that thing. Okay. Then we took up an objection to this theory about thoughts determining our life. So the first objection to it could be that, random stuff happens. Like, look at how today, every day we have class, every time we have this is not something new. And today there's just chaos going on around it. So these random things happen. But each one of us will experience these things based on the way we think. Some of us get very irritated, some of us will carry on, take it in our stride, some will try to interfere, some will try to help, different things will happen. Okay, so how we experience the event is our thoughts. But is the event our thoughts? Vedanta says, yes. How can that even be possible? Then he explained it with the law of physics, that free-flowing ball that can move this, that has a force this way, has a force this way, and therefore moves in the middle. So something random is happening because so many millions of thoughts are going on in our head. And the consequence, put it all together, and you get a random event. So what should we do? Learn to direct them, focus them towards our goal, a single goal, or if that's too much, 1 or 2 or 3, not too much, just in one direction. And then if we even achieve doing that, like many high achievers, that's what they do. They direct everything to them. It still is a problem. You end up stressed, agitated, feeling a sense of ennui, a sense of big deal. I didn't do enough, or it just not feel okay. You're not happy with it at the end of it. So if we want that contentment as well, then the goal that we set for ourselves should be of a higher nature, something that's beneficial to everyone. That we see something more than ourselves in our lives. And the moment we can do that, contentment simply fills our hearts. So how we do this is by developing a strong intellect. For it is the intellect that can direct us. It is the intellect that can understand the facts of life and therefore do it correctly. So how do you develop the intellect? That's the next question. Well, you know the answer, the study of Vedanta. It is one of the very few top subjects in the world that teach us about life and how we should conduct ourselves. And that's why the Trust has many opportunities by which everybody can freely learn. So much out there that you could learn, pick it up and learn it. Remember, we always take knowledge. Knowledge can never be given. So take whatever works for you. There's all sorts of things. There are books that you could study. There is a YouTube channel which you could learn from. There are classes that happen every week, live classes where you can have your questions answered as well, and a host of stuff going on. But the effort will have to be from your side to take whatever way works for you. There's an LMS, self-learning courses. Self-paced means you can do it at your time. So whatever, as long as you take the knowledge, think about the knowledge, and make your life what you would like it to be. There is no point all of us having any kind of dissatisfaction in life. Why should we? All of us are capable of being completely contented and of doing something useful while we're here. So let's make use of that superpower which we have and do something sensible with our lives. So that's it from me today. We will pause now for a couple of minutes so that you get a chance to just think of these ideas. If you have any questions, post them in the chat box, and in 2 minutes, we will come back and answer those questions. It's good to write it in the chat box because, sometimes it takes so long to say the question that we can't handle so many questions. Somebody takes 5 minutes just saying the question. And the other thing is, it makes us clear thinkers when we can write our question down. Otherwise, we are all over the place. Question is not clear. So think of your question, write it down in the chat box, and we'll take it up in the line in order. Okay, so 2 minutes pause while they just put something on the screen. Okay, I think Sat Ramak is the first question, which I can see. If I have missed yours, then please draw it to Max. Sat Ramak, are you here still? We'll take the questions first of the people who are here. Sat Ramak, are you here? All right, not there. Then Narendra, are you here? Not there?
Satrama is here, Janki ji. Should I unmute all of them?
Yes, please. so that at least I know who I'm talking to. Where is Satramak? I can't see. Okay, here, okay, I can see you. And Omkar, I keep getting muted and I'm not able to unmute myself. So please, just in case there's another issue. Okay, so what's the way to control negative thoughts? So negative thoughts come from desires. Remember how we studied, how we heard about how the thought, it multiplies and turns into anger or greed or jealousy or anger or even worries and anxieties and stress. It's just nothing but that thought developing further. Every type of negative thought is the thought developing further. So what is the ideal way to do it is, when a thought comes to us the first time, we have to apply our intellect to it and decide whether we want to keep it or not. If you don't do this basic discrimination right in the beginning, then this thought will become, that single thought will become a tornado of thoughts. It will become so many thoughts that it will become very difficult to deal with them later on. It's like, the rivers, they start with just a trickle here and a trickle there. And then before you know it, it's a raging river. It's like you can't do anything about it. So it's best to do it right at the beginning. Now the negative thoughts have already become a river. So now what to do about it? So what to do about it is take up the study of Vedanta. What we can now do is put in so many correct and good thoughts that we actually crowd out the bad ones. We have no time to think of the negative things because we're thinking of things that we should be doing, how to do it better. You just learn to do more positive things, and then the bad things get crowded out. And of course, it will take time. It doesn't happen overnight, but that's the way. The study of Vedanta is really the only way. You will think that, there's a massive sales talk going on here. It's not a sales talk because nothing is being sold, but it is an advertising campaign for Vedanta, because that is the only thing that is going to help our lives get better. Because it is a knowledge of living. So once you have that, then there's a question of a negative thought simply don't come. What is there to be negative about? It's a beautiful world we live in. What is there to be negative about? But once we learn to make our thoughts like that, then they just go. Okay?
Thank you, madam.
Then Narendra. Where is Narendra? Is Narendra here? Okay, there you are. Yes. How to handle conflicts intellectually when the other person is not in the listening mode? Narendra, the first and most important thing is that we are in a listening mode. We have to find out what is it the other person wants, and then figure out a way by which everyone gets what they want. So you can't handle a conflict by getting people to listen to you. We all have to handle conflicts by listening genuinely to the other person. What is it they want? And is there any way I can think of? And that's when the intellect comes in. So first, I listen carefully. What is it they are wanting out of this thing? And then is there any way I can modify, adjust, make it so that everybody gets largely what they want? But definitely cannot get other people to listen to us. It just never works. Okay? I'm sorry, I will have to give rather brief answers because I can see so many questions, but same basic answer. Study Vedanta, everything gets sorted out. A simple basic answer. How to generate the idea thoughts to achieve a particular goal. Chetan, are you there? Chetan.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Chetan, how to generate the thoughts is every time you are thinking of about doing something, ask yourself, is this going to take you there? Okay, that's one way. The second and better way is make a schedule for yourself to reach that. So if you want to reach any particular place, you must know on a daily basis what actions you're taking to reach there. Remember, thoughts don't give results. It is actions. So what action am I taking? Unless I take an action, I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here. So every day I schedule for myself what actions I'm taking towards reaching whatever goal I have set to myself, for which I have to think carefully which actions will take me there. And then every single day do them and have some anticipation in your mind about how long this is going to take. Okay, suppose I get a better body, I can do this in 6 months. If I want to buy a better house, then I may take 5 years. So I must have some kind of anticipation of how much time it will take, and just do daily work and don't look up until that time frame has been reached. Okay, it's a way of relieving stress, not of getting stress, because you already know it's going to take you 5 years or whatever time you have set.
Thank you.
Suggest a basic book on thoughts. Nagraj, are you there? Basic book they have already suggested. How do you know what you know? Sounds sad if I recommend it, but I do. It's a good book. It covers all the entire range of thoughts, from wrong type of thoughts to thoughtlessness. So even if you read one chapter, it's a lot. So yeah, I suggest it, though it's probably politically incorrect to do so. Then Devang Mehta, are you there? Devang? Okay. How to control emotional feelings towards someone? That's always a tough one because we've allowed them to grow. Remember that trickle now become a raging river. So what can you do is, first, don't worry about controlling the feelings, worry about controlling the actions. Okay, so whatever you do with reference to that person, at least that much, let it be a good and correct action that will take you to where you want to go. And as you keep trying to correct the action and make sure your action is correct, automatically thoughts will get sort of more controlled. But remember, I mean, this is a theme that I think will come a lot through the questions. The thing is, our mind has become so strong because we are not feeding our intellect at all. Intellect is, who will hold these emotions, who will hold the mind is the intellect. You've starved the intellect. It has not got any food all your life. And so it is like one weakling like this it is. And we have fed the mind and it's become nice, big Muhammad Ali it's become. So the mind is doing foot and then the intellect goes away. So answer really is strengthen the intellect with study of Vedanta. So strengthen, strengthen, strengthen. The mind will be kept under control. But as of now, with a particular thing, then deal with the action to begin with. Okay? What are you doing with reference to that person? Chaitra Praveen, are you there?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so they'll put the class links there. Will you put the class link, please?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am, I saw it. Yeah.
Can a goal become a reason for suffering as well? Yes, Shantanu, are you there? Where is Shantanu? Please identify yourself so that we can go quickly. Shantanu, are you there? If yes, in one word, yes, it can. If it's a selfish goal. If it's an unselfish goal, even if it's not achieved, you will not be worried. Purvi Pandey. How to handle a colleague negativity at work. Are you there, Purvi? Because there's so many questions.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, how to handle a colleague negativity at the work. Okay, how we handle it is by not seeing it as negativity, but seeing it as some desire interrupted in that other person. So if you can figure out what is the desire interrupted, then you will be able to figure out what can be done about it. For instance, suppose your boss is very negative to you because he didn't want you there. He wanted his friend to have that job, for instance. There is no behavior of yours that's going to change that, right? So why worry about it? Think of other solutions. So you must figure out what is the reason, what desire of this other person has been interrupted, and then deal with that desire. The negativity is nothing. Any one of us will become negative if we have an interrupted desire. So what is that interrupted desire? That we should know before we can handle it. Okay, Purvi? Nakshatra. How to, Nakshatra, are you there? Nakshatra? iPhone. Who is iPhone? I don't know who's iPhone. How can we get rid of a trauma happened in the past? My mind keeps going back to it all the time. Are you there, iPhone? Rupma. How can I judge or know myself that I am directing my thoughts in right directions? Rupma, are you there? Nobody is there. How can we achieve personal goals by thoughts? Ganesh, are you there? Are you
Yes,
on?
yes.
Okay. So Ganesh, how do we achieve personal goals by thoughts? Is by having our thoughts direct every action to the goal. When our thoughts do that, you achieve the goal. It's that simple. Goals are achieved by actions. Thoughts determine which actions. So if your thoughts are doing the right determination of the action, you'll achieve the goal.
Thank you.
Sorry, ma'am, I'm there. Rupma.
Okay, which was your question now? How can I judge or know myself that I'm directing my thoughts in right directions? You will know by the results, hopefully. Are you getting the result you're looking for? Because if you're getting the results, then you know that you are doing the right thing. If you want to know before you get the results, then this is only your decision on whether this is workable. If you have what should I say, somebody with a superior intellect available to you, then they can also help you with that. But
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
there's no real, some.
Ma'am, I'm there.
Oh, iPhone. Where is iPhone? Okay, I think we'll take this as our last question because there are so many questions. We can actually do another Q&A for this if you're like, but it's a lot to constantly take in. So we'll take Rupma's question as the last one. No, sorry, iPhone. iPhone, what is your name?
I'm Rajul. I'm sorry it's come as iPhone. I don't know why. So sorry.
Rajul, how can we get rid of a trauma happened in the past? My mind keeps going back to it all the time. This is always difficult because, whether it's an emotional attachment or it's a trauma for the past or anything that the mind is doing, it's difficult to control because the mind has become so strong. That river has become a raging river. So the only thing to do is strengthen the intellect and then have so many good thoughts or good things to do. Is you crowd out the bad. You don't have time for it because it's not easy, these things, to get rid of. It will take time, it will take effort, it will take conscious redirection towards some
Positive
goal, something higher to do. Take responsibility for something, like something to achieve.
But eventually it will fade, ma'am. Eventually will it get lesser?
Of course. Of course.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess, thank you. I guess
Thank you.
Madam, please. This is Lokesh, madam. I mentioned my question also, but please answer me, madam, in few words. My
okay,
question
what was
is
your question, please? There are 33 messages, so it's. I
yes,
don't know.
madam. Yes,
What
madam.
was
My
your
question.
question?
Yes, madam. My question is fear about the people, madam. It include they are including in family members, colleagues, overall society, madam. I am lot of suffering. I am lot of phobia, madam. Social phobia from so many years, madam. Please answer me, madam.
What do you do?
Medical representative, madam.
Okay. So, one thing you could try, I mean, besides everything that we've said obviously holds, but one thing that we could also try is try to work for some social service organization or something like that. So that you're spending at least, a few hours a week, every week, doing some unselfish work. The more unselfish work you do, the more these fears will go away. That's number one. And number two is you're a medical representative. Use that itself as a method of service. Okay, so you are actually going out there helping doctors know about diseases and their possible cures and new research. And that is helping so many people become well. So remember that you're doing a big service in society. Okay, so if you do these two things, you may find that in a month or two, these phobias have come down considerably. Try it and tell us later on how it was. Okay. All right, so that's it for today. Hari Om.